somewhere in there. Hello and welcome to the Hoop Heads Podcast. It's Mike Klinzing here with my co-host Jason Sunkel tonight, and we are jumping on to talk in-season tournament. Jay, where are you at? What's your thoughts?
I'm enjoying it. I'll be honest when I say I didn't watch. But listen, my fantasy football season was riding
What?
high
Come
yesterday.
on. What are you talking
No,
about? Fantasy
it was
football.
listen,
What?
listen, listen. I'm in two leagues that are
You had Jake
dear.
Browning?
I
You
had
picked
Jake
up Jake
Browning
Browning?
yesterday. I had listen. So I have Josh
What?
Allen. Listen, just listen to me. I have Josh Allen as my quarterback, and then my backup quarterback was
Joe
oh, I
Burrow?
had Aaron Rodgers at the beginning of the season. So I had Aaron Rodgers, and then when Aaron Rodgers went out, I was like, well, I don't have to worry about Josh Allen's being out until week 13. So I didn't pick up a backup quarterback. Well, in my league is a 14 team league. There was like no one left. I I could have picked Flacco up, but I didn't have confidence in Flacco. So I was like, well, Browning's going against the worst defense, like one of the worst defenses in the Jacksonville Jaguars. I picked him and Stafford up, but I didn't have confidence in Stafford. I needed 17 points from Jake Browning yesterday, and I did not like my chances. And he scored me 28. So in both my big leagues, Mike, I am the number one seed going into the playoffs. I already have clinched a bye. I've already clinched the one seed in both of them. So I'm trying to get my buddies that I'm in the league with to throw me a little extra if I throw this week, so that one of them specifically needs to win to get in the playoffs. So I could completely just throw this week. It's not going to affect my standing. I'm still going to be the one seed. So I'm trying to bargain with them a little bit, Mike. What do you think? Should I do it or should I just play it out and try to beat him? What do you think?
Beat him, man. You can't rig the game like that.
But I'm more afraid of the team that he's trying to take the spot of. I'm trying to strategize a
I
little bit.
understand to manipulate. You're trying to face the the bad
Tank? Should I
team in the
tank?
playoffs. I
Should I
understand.
tank?
Yeah.
Should I
Tank.
tank?
Tankathon. Go
tank
for it.
Tank a
Go for it.
palooza? No. Anyway,
I think
so
you
I
should
did
start
not
a I think
watch.
you should start I think you should start a fantasy football podcast. That's what it sounds like to me.
No, so I only watched the first half of the Indiana game, and then I
Oh,
watched the I watched the second half of the Pelicans game until I fell asleep on the chair down here. I kind of felt like you. Um, and I have to
yeah,
say, I
I've
think
done
my
that
favorite
before.
moment of the night was when you texted me about Zion. I think it was my favorite moment of the night, Mike.
Zion was looking a little heavy. He's looking a little heavy, man. He's looking a little heavy.
I thought you were saying he was fast, Mike.
No, he was not fast. We want to take the S out of there. He looks
Yeah.
The funny part of it is that when you just watch him run up and down the floor, he looks like a guy who would there was no chance that he would be able to move. And then when he gets the ball, he still is just unbelievably explosive
He,
with the
he's like
ball.
he's an
It's
explosive
incredible.
Robert tractor trailer, Mike.
He is. He is. I mean, it's amazing how fast the guy can move when he has the ball in his hands. But when you just watch him jogging up and down the floor, I mean, he is gigantic. And I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a big dude, but he's got to be carrying, I don't know, 30 more pounds, 40 more pounds than what he needs to be carrying. I just don't get it. I mean, at this point,
What do they have him listed at? Do you know? I'll see if I can figure
I
that
have
out.
no
What do they
idea.
have him listed?
I have no idea.
But do you believe it though? Would you believe it? Whatever they have him listed at?
No, I mean, no, I wouldn't believe it even for a second. Let me look for it here. See
I'm
if they
looking
have
on
it.
NBA.com. I'm seeing it. It's got to be here somewhere. It's the app. By the way, listen, for the NBA, they have him listed as 284. I actually kind of believe that.
Probably close. I bet he's bigger than, yeah, that's what ESPN has him at 284. I
He's 6'6", 284. Mike,
I think he's bigger than
he
I
sounds
think
like
he's
he should.
bigger than that.
I feel like that sounds like an NFL player. It doesn't sound like an NBA player.
Well, what's crazy is that game last night. I don't know. We want to start. You want to just start with that game?
Yeah, let's just start with that game. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So I think the thing that struck me the most watching that game was, and Zion contributed some, and I think what he ended up with 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and did he have what 12 points? I think something like that. But
Yeah.
he was clearly not a team last night anyway, and took it right to Sacramento. Don't get me wrong, Sacramento is not
Hey,
a
I
great
think I
defensive
think I
team.
picked New Orleans. I'm pretty sure I picked New Orleans last week, Mike. And you said you took Sacramento. If
I
I'm
took
not
Sacramento.
incorrect,
I had Sacramento, Milwaukee in the final. That was my final pick. You had Lakers, Celtics.
Celtics are out.
Celtics are
So
out. We each have one team eliminated at this point. One team eliminated from potential finals contention. So yes, but when I watched that game last night with the Pelicans, I just felt like Zion was a much more peripheral entity than what you would have expected with this team. And when you start going down the Pelicans roster, they just have a lot of guys that can do a lot of things, and they're very versatile and they're big and they
literally
have
some of
shooting.
them.
They are, yeah. Some of them are big in the wrong direction, big, but now the fact that they have Trey Murphy back and the shooting and versatility and athleticism that he brings to the table, CJ's back from the collapsed lung, and I just feel like this team they didn't play Jordan Hawkins at all, who had become kind of a key part of their rotation while those guys were out, and Dyson Daniels, who had been starting that CJ McCollum spot, also he played but not a ton, and so it's kind of just I just man I I feel like it's that Pelicans team is good. I mean, offensively, what they can do, I'm not sure how great they are or can be defensively, at least not with CJ McCollum in the starting lineup. But
Yeah,
I think you start talking about, and Zion is a poor defender. He just, when you watch him out there, when he doesn't have the ball, and then when he's playing defense, he looks like a guy who is pretty severely overweight. And then you see him when he gets the ball on the wing and he takes one dribble under over it, and then he's just at the rim. And I've never seen a guy move that fast in one capacity of the game and look so utterly lost and not quick in other aspects of the game. And so I've been one of the biggest Zion proponents from the moment that this guy was drafted into the league. I mean, we can go back and look at the titles of some of our episodes from I think we had Zion's Eve was the title of one of our podcasts back in those days. And I just feel like the guy he's been a tantalizing talent, and yet you look at how long with I think this is his fourth season, if I'm and there's a lot of guys who by their fourth season have developed into something that is close to what they're going to be. And with Zion, at this point, I still have no idea what he is or what his career arc is going to look like. I mean, if he doesn't get in shape, I still think he's going to get to the 250 games for our bet, no matter what happens, because I just feel like his talent is so high that even if he gets injured every season, he's still going to somehow eke out 250 games. But I have no idea if this guy is ever going to take it seriously enough to get in shape and tap into his potential. I don't know. I have no idea what I'm getting from Zion Williamson.
yeah. Listen, uh, I don't know. You think you have it's like you have flashes of brilliance when he's on the floor, and then other times you're just like, how is this guy? How is this guy going to even like survive playing because he's clearly out of shape. Okay. And he just looks like he struggles. But then like you said, when he gets the ball, it's
Yeah,
like
good luck staying in front of him and good luck stopping him when he gets to the rim.
yeah,
Part
exactly.
of it is he's a really good passer. Like even last night when he wasn't doing a whole on the weak side a lot, and the ball would get swung to him, and then he'd make a move and dish it off to the next guy, or he just would make the next right. Like he's a good passer, and I don't know when you watch him, I just get so frustrated because you're like, man, if this guy was just in shape and competed a little bit harder on the defensive end of the floor with the things that he can do going to the basket and with his ability to see the floor and pass, it just feels like, and he has been. Look, I say it all the time, right? When he's been on the floor, he's been historically great. This is the first season where I don't think you can really say that. He hasn't been as good, as explosive, as dominant as he's been in the past. But
Yeah.
when he's been right, he's fantastic. And I just don't know if I'm ever going to get what I want from Zion Williamson. I just don't know. He's got to, his body, his conditioning, at some point, he's got to take, because there's no way at the size he is that he can continue to function at any kind of a high level as he ages into his late 20s. This is not going to happen. So it'll be interesting to
Yeah.
see. But New Orleans may not even need him. I mean, don't get me wrong, they need him, but they're good. They have
They,
talent without
yep.
him, and they're good. Beating Sacramento in Sacramento, where that was a good crowd. I mean, we could talk about the crowd in Indianapolis, which I know you didn't watch a ton of that game, but the second half of that game, the Indy crowd was off the hook, man. They were fantastic.
Listen,
And
listen. The thing,
Sacramento's crowd started out good, and then obviously as the Pelicans kind of took control, it died down a little bit. But Sacramento's got a good crowd, but Indiana's crowd was incredible.
listen. So that's a good transition, Mike. Here's what I'm going to say. Indiana Pacers are an interesting team. They're a bit of a case study. They're an in-season tournament case study. Is this going to be a flash in the pan for the Indiana Pacers, or are they going to be able to carry this the rest of the year? I think you definitely saw some things. I know Simmons was tweeting about it. I can't wait. I'm assuming he's going to do a podcast tonight. And to kind of talk about his opinions of what happened with the Celtics, because they kind of didn't look great in the second half there, right? Is that accurate, Mike?
I just think Indiana played really, really well. And Boston's problem is the same problem that they've had over and over and over again. And that is, I just don't feel like Boston understands what kind of shots they need to get in the clutch. And they almost always resort to a jump shot in some way, shape, or form. It could be a guy driving and a kick, and then a second pass, and they end up with a jumper. It could be a Tatum or Brown isolation into a jump shot. I just don't feel like at the end of games that they get to the rim and they get good shots the way that they need to. I feel like as good as their offense is at times during the first 46 minutes, I feel like in the last 2 minutes, I'm not afraid of what Boston does in the last 2 minutes. I think that's a problem. And Indiana, flash in the pan, I'm not sure what I'm seeing from Indiana because their profile would tell you that a team that's 28th, I think, in the league in defense, they're giving up like 126 points a game. Now they're scoring 128. But I don't think that
That's
there's
not
any
Mike. That's not
precedent.
sustainable. That's not
No,
sustainable.
there's no precedent for that type of team being a legitimate playoff contender. Now, could they get hot in a series and maybe win a playoff round? I guess. They did show something down the stretch defensively. Aaron Neesmith, who was drafted by the
By the
Celtics and
Celtics. Yeah.
yeah, and then let go. He was just absolutely on fire on both ends of the floor, just going at the Celtics. He was talking, he was bodying Tatum all over the floor. Tatum, that could be his.
Sounds like a new
That's it.
element on the periodic table.
It is. Could have to be his new nickname, Jason Tatum. So Neesmith was fantastic and just playing physical and looked like the type of defender that every NBA team would want to have. A guy 6'7", long arms, physical, just a guy who wasn't going to back down against guys who have a bigger reputation than him. And obviously he had I'm sure it was a little personal for him going against the Celtics. And the whole team stepped it up defensively in the fourth quarter and made it harder for Boston to score. Now, as I said earlier, I think Boston sometimes plays into these teams' hands that they're playing against by not attacking the basket and by settling for jump shots, which again, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum shooting jump shots is probably not a horrendous option, but it feels like Boston could get better shots down the stretch. But Indiana did, I guess, for as much as you want to say, they did clamp down and make it difficult. I know Tatum took a couple jumpers. He made one or two of them that he had guys hand right in their face and he still knocked him down. But then he missed a couple and Indiana had that crazy three basket stretch where Halliburton hit a three, got fouled. That was a 4 point play. Neesmith had a, and then I believe Buddy Heald had a another three in there. And Indiana just their crowd was going crazy. Their bench was going crazy when Halliburton hit the three and got fouled. The bench was just insane. And so I think your point of right is Indiana's the type of team that probably the NBA likes seeing a team like Indiana with a superstar who's on the rise, who maybe a lot of the general public hasn't seen in Halliburton. And are they legitimate as far as can they get to the Eastern Conference Finals? I would say the answer to that question is no. I look at where they sit in the standings right now, and I really wouldn't want to stake my life on the fact that they're going to actually finish in the top six. I would probably bet against that. But this has been a nice little run for them, and their crowd was
They're
clearly
are
into
they
it. Their
they're
team was
better
clearly
than
into it.
they're better than the Jazz last year, right?
Yes,
Or
for sure.
are they on a
Because
similar
Halliburton,
trajectory?
look, no, they're not on a similar trajectory. I think they're not going to finish. They're not going to finish out of the play-in where Utah did last year. They're definitely going to be a team. I don't see them finishing in the top six, but maybe, maybe. I mean, I guess if you look at the contenders, if you look at the top six now in the East, Boston, Milwaukee are locks to be in the top six. Philly, as long as Maxey or Embiid don't get hurt, is a lock to be in the top six. I think the Knicks are probably, well, I don't know. I'm not sure about the Knicks. I guess Indiana could maybe make the top six. I think Miami and the Cavs probably get into the top six by the time's all said and done. I don't think Brooklyn can get there. I don't think Atlanta can get there. So you're basically looking at the eight teams. The top eight teams are competing for those six playoff spots. So could Indiana stick in the top? Yeah, maybe, maybe. I mean, you're looking at Orlando, the Knicks, the Pacers. I think the Cavs and Heat are going to be. You're looking at those three teams: Orlando, New York. One of those three is going to get into the top six, and the other two will be in the play-in. I don't know if you see it any
Fair.
differently, but that's the way I look at it.
I mean, could I see Indiana be finishing in the top six? I mean, if I could, I just think that their defense is going to catch up to them. I just don't see how it's sustainable to keep scoring at this high of a clip and giving up this many points. More importantly, like I mean, I haven't looked at the minutes, and I know Indiana's relatively young, right? Like they're pretty young.
They're pretty young. Yeah, they have a pretty young
Yeah,
team.
like
I
so,
mean,
like
their oldest guy,
maybe the minutes,
Miles Turner. Miles Turner's probably their
and
most
I would
veteran
guess,
player.
I mean, Buddy Heald's not young in the tooth either, right? I mean, this is his third stint with a team, and
He's not old though. Buddy Hield's probably. I'm guessing he's
28,
maybe
29.
29. Yeah, 29. I was going to say 29, maybe 30.
My one other Olmsted Falls boys coach is going to be very disappointed that I don't know how old Buddy Hield is, because he is a huge Buddy Hield fan. He wanted the Cavs to get Buddy Hield a few years ago.
Buddy Hield would have been a good pickup at various times for the Cavs.
Yeah.
I agree.
Anyways, so do I think Indiana has any chance of beating Milwaukee? I mean, here's what I'm going to say. Milwaukee's defense is terrible. This game right here, Mike, this game in Vegas right here, is someone going to get to 170 points? Like,
maybe it's possible. I mean, the Bucks put up 146 tonight.
Like, and I'm just saying, like, I know Indiana's defense is bad. I also know that Milwaukee's defense is terrible too. Right? I mean, you agree with that, right?
Milwaukee's defense should theoretically be better. It hasn't been this season. I think which team has
well, Middleton not being able to play more than like 23 or 24 minutes is not
guards.
key.
They just you can't have Malik Beasley and Damian Lillard at the point of your attack and expect that you're going to be locking teams down. You're basically looking at your back line trying to make up for a lot of blow-bys with Lillard and Beasley. That's just a fact. Now, Milwaukee's defense, you have Brook Lopez and you have Giannis in your back line. That can make up for a lot. So I think I would put more stock in Milwaukee's ability to step it up and defend than I would in Indiana's. But yeah, I would expect that to be a very high scoring game. I wouldn't be surprised if
But
you get
yeah.
the at least 130s, possibly the 140s when you start talking about that
Mike,
entertaining game.
I have a question for you. When was the last time you saw an NBA team press and force a turnover? Like legitimate press off an
It's been
inbounds.
a long time. It's been a long time. It's
The
been a long
Phoenix
time.
Suns just pressed the LA Lakers and they turned it over.
All right, there you go.
So I just thought I had to ask that because I can't think of a time.
Rick
I mean, unless you
Pitino?
count do you count the Kevin Love when he rolled it to the other team
No,
when he was
Rick
so
Pitino.
frustrated?
Rick Pitino. I mean, a team that's actually like trying to full court press as opposed to one guard picking somebody up and then somebody getting in a passing lane, but a team that's actually trying to press as a strategy. You don't see that very often in the NBA. It'll be interesting. You wonder, it's so prevalent, obviously, at other levels of the game. You wonder why NBA teams don't throw it into their mix
Well,
more. Even
you would think because probably because everybody can handle the ball in some way, shape, or
right,
form, right?
exactly. I mean, I agree. There's obviously reasons why teams don't do it, but I feel like even if you weren't getting a team to turn it over, just the fact that you'd force them to use 6 or 7 seconds off the shot clock just so they have to get into their offense at the 17 or 18-second mark of the clock. To me, it seems like there would be some value in there. Maybe not to for 48 minutes, or maybe not even to do it with your starters, but maybe you just have a bench unit that comes in and presses. But it clearly is not a strategy that NBA coaches believe would be successful for whatever reason, because nobody really does anything with that. So Buddy Hield,
Yeah.
30 years old, by the way. Buddy Hield is 30.
Oh,
So
that was good. We were close.
so
We
right
were right
there
there.
right
We
there
were
in the
right there.
mix. Yeah.
All right. So I do you have anything else to add about the Pelicans game or the Indiana game? I think we've covered those pretty good, right? I think we
How you
covered
feeling
them
about
pretty
Indy's
well.
court? How you feeling about Indy's court? You're still
Uh,
out?
Still out. I think the
Oh
Lakers
man.
court is nice. Do you like the Lakers court?
I like the Lakers court. I like Indy's court. Indy's court I think is my favorite one.
What is I want to know what the Vegas court's going to look like. Have they
Man, that'll be
unveiled that
interesting.
yet?
I haven't seen it. I like Sacramento's court too. I like the lion in the center of the court. I kind of like the grays, but Indy's is nice because it's colorful. I mean, the blue is cool, but yet it's not like searing your eyeballs like some of the red courts.
The red courts are terrible.
The red courts are bad. I don't
I
mind the
liked the
red court.
Cavs court. I liked the Cavs court. I liked the Cavs
Cavs
one.
court and the Bucks court were similar, right? Kind of subtle,
Yeah.
almost looked like a regular floor color on the exterior, and then the runway was maybe a little bit more muted than some of the other courts. Those were more boring versions. I at first when I first saw the Cavs, I'm like, oh, I don't like that one at all, and then it kind of grew on me as time went along. But I think Indies honestly is my favorite. I really like that one, and the Lakers is
Yeah.
nice too.
Yeah. The I don't know. This is like a playoff game. I'm really enjoying watching this. Anyways, I think the Lakers and the Cavs and I like the Bucks court a lot.
Bucks court's nice.
Um
Yep.
I liked Golden State's. I
Theirs is
liked
good. I
Golden
like the
State.
Celtics. I like the Celtics green. They kind of had the darker green. I kind of like that one. Anything but honestly, anything but the red. And the red, I didn't mind looking just at the court. If you look at the whether it was looking at in a drawing or actually looking at it on the screen, the problem was once you put players out there and had them, it just became it was overwhelming. So I think they'll do away
Yeah.
next year with red courts.
Searing of the
And
eyeball.
yeah, maybe they'll
Was
have
the
some kind of
Heat was the other red one, right? The Heat was the other terrible red one.
Heat and Bulls. I think were the two. Those were the two main offenders that I can remember. Maybe there was others that were red.
I honestly don't remember what Portland's looked like because that would be the other team I would think is red, but I don't remember what Portland's even looks like.
Yeah, I can't recall either. I don't think you and I were catching a lot of Portland games.
Well, the Cavs. Well, we already talked about that. We don't need it anymore. The Cavs lost to the Portland Trail Blazers.
Yeah.
Although Indiana, who's in the semifinals, lost the day before. So
right.
Whatever Portland had a hot streak.
It's been a goofy season, right? I mean, it really has. it's been a goofy
There's a lot
season
of parody.
as
There's a
far
lot of
as
parody, Mike. Like
there
there's a lot
is.
of parody.
It's like
It's like
we've
the
said it.
NFL. The NFL's got a lot of parody right now, right? I mean,
The
you got
NFL always goes for parity, though. That's kind of what the NFL is always striving for. Whereas the NBA, it feels like you don't have as many teams as we have right now that are going to be right there in the middle. Like I feel like there's going to be a ton of teams that are going to be right
I
there
mean
in
in
that
the East
four,
in
40 to 46. There's going to be a ton of teams in that range.
well, so in the East, I would say right now, Detroit, we may as well say they're mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. Okay.
Yeah, I would say that's a
Washington
pretty safe bet.
in the same boat. Chicago and Charlotte, I think take a lot of losses now with LaMelo being out again.
Those teams are both
Um,
out. They're done. Those teams are both. There's no
well,
way.
Chicago's 7-14. I'm not ready to
No,
cross them off yet. I'm not ready to cross them off
they
yet.
won two without Zach Levine. When's the Zach Levine trade coming?
And DeMar DeRozan, right? DeMar played in one of those two. When they beat the Bucks, they didn't have DeMar DeRozan or Levine.
Correct. I think he played in the next one though.
Anyways, so okay, so we'll say the East has 11 teams that are vying for the playoff spot. I would say the West is probably in the same boat, although maybe Memphis when Ja comes back, they can make a run.
No,
I don't.
too far
I'm not
gone.
saying
They're gonna be too far gone.
What about you? Are you ready to cross Utah off yet?
Utah's out. Utah's out. I won't be surprised if Utah ends up making a trade. And I don't think they're going to trade Markkanen, but I could
Jordan
definitely
Clarkson.
I could definitely see Clarkson or Colin Sexton being shipped out to
LA
a team that needs some bench scoring to the Lakers. You mean?
Yeah,
maybe.
Jordan Clarkson to the Lakers again.
Are the Lakers going to give up? They'd have to give up another first round pick. I think it would have to be their, which I think is all they have left. Maybe they still have their 2028, but I could see that. I mean, I could see Clarkson or Colin Sexton going to a contending team that needs some scoring punch off their bench. I don't think Utah. I guess my point is when we're talking about playoffs, I don't think Utah is going to be climbing into the playoff picture. I don't see them fighting for the play-in. And then if you look at that top 11 as it stands right now in the West, the shakiest team there obviously is the Houston Rockets, who have yet to win a game on the road. They're 8-1 at home and 0-8 away from whatever the name of their arena is currently. I don't know what their arena is even called at this point. But
sounds like the Cleveland Browns, Mike.
The Summit. The Summit. That's what it used to be. But anyway, I don't know if Houston sticks around in there. I guess if I was voting or trying to predict what I would think happens, you'd have to imagine that the Warriors are going to climb up that spot and Houston ends up in the 11th seed. But because I think the West, when you look up at all the teams above Golden State right now,
Houston Rockets Arena is the Toyota Center, Mike.
Toyota Center. There you go. Okay, the Toyota Center. So anyway, I think Houston probably, if I'm looking at it, team that falls out. And then if you look at where teams would slot, the only team that obviously nobody expected Memphis to be down at the very bottom, but the way that their season has gone to this point, with Brandon Clark out, with Steven Adams out, with the Ja suspension, I don't know that anybody can be completely stunned. Marcus Smart is out as well. I just don't. I mean, it's surprising based on where we might have been 3 months ago, but based on the injuries that this team's had, and then the fact that Ja is still out.
Yeah,
I just
he's
think
got like
seven.
He's got like 7 more games, right?
Yeah, it's not that. It's not that surprising that they are down in the dregs of the Western Conference, and nobody expects the Spurs to climb out of their tailspin. Portland, no, I don't think Utah. So I think the 11 teams.
Here's a question, Mike. I've got another question for you.
Sure.
Like Wemby was the bygone favor for winning Rookie of the Year. If they don't win like 20 games, is there any chance he wins it? Like I don't think. I mean, Chet's got to be the guy, right?
I think right now, I think if the vote was taken today, I think Chet would probably win it. And we talked about this a little bit, I don't know, last week or the week before, that it's hard to compare from a standpoint of the Spurs are, let's be generous and say that they are not
Pitiful.
trying that hard to win. They're not trying that hard to win. I don't want to go and say as much as they're actively trying
The
to lose, but
process.
they're not actively trying to win, let's put it that way. And then you look at Chet with Oklahoma City. Clearly the Thunder are positioned to try to win games. And you look at the supporting cast and the role that Chet has to play within that cast of characters in Oklahoma City. It's certainly he is in a situation.
More favorable for
Yes,
more favorable
correct,
for sure.
in terms of his team. But the fact remains, and this is what's interesting, is because you have these guys coming into the league so young, there are very, very, very few guys that make any kind of impact whatsoever on winning and losing. And certainly not as the centerpiece best player on a team. I mean, it was rare that it happened 30 or 40 years ago. Every once in a while, you get a Larry Bird outlier, or you get the David Robinson coming back from injury, combining with Tim Duncan. But that was when guys were going to college for 3 or 4 years. They came into the league at 21 or 22 years old. Now, with all these guys at the top of the draft coming in at age 19, those guys just can't make an impact on winning. Like Wemby's having a great year statistically, and he does a lot of amazing things on the floor, but he's not, as a 19-year-old, to be able to carry a team to winning games in the NBA. That just doesn't happen
Yeah.
anymore. And Chet, in a different situation, clearly contributing to winning, but not the driving force that's causing the Thunder to have the record that they have. Obviously, that driver's seat belongs to Shea. So I think they're in two different circumstances. But I think if the vote was taken today, the fact that the Spurs are 3-16 and that Oklahoma City is, I don't know if overachieving, but certainly playing very well, playing better than probably what most people thought. I think the
Do you
voters
want
would
me to
probably lean
here?
towards Chet.
I'm gonna look really quickly at what the betting odds say. What does
Okay.
DraftKings say for I'm I'm gonna guess that they're pretty much gonna be even right now. That's gonna be my guess. Um, I've been listening to a lot of cousin Sal, so we'll see cousin Sal and them guessing the lines, futures, awards. Jokic is the prohibitive favorite on the MVP, Mike.
Yeah, I don't see how that
Um,
doesn't come to fruition if he stays healthy. To me,
okay,
it seems like that's a foregone conclusion.
Holmgren is the favorite. Holmgren's the favorite. He's minus 150. Wemby's plus 105.
Yeah, it makes sense. I
Um,
mean,
yeah.
makes sense. I mean, I think that's probably the right pick right now, just based on, I think statistically they're probably fairly even. Chet a little bit more efficient, and then if you factor in winning in any way, shape, or form, then that has to toss the edge over to
What do you
over to
think? What do
Chet.
you think? Who do you think's the favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year right this minute?
Oh man, defensive player of the year. I got to think about it. Go Rudy Gobert.
Rudy Gobert is correct. Gobert is
I mean,
one, Davis is
Minnesota's
two,
15-4,
Mobley is
dude.
three.
Minnesota's
Gobert,
15 and
Davis,
4.
Mobley. There, so Mobley's third right now.
Yeah, I continue to not know how to feel about Evan Mobley. I can listen to or read something different and feel he's playing. There's lots of evidence that he's playing the best he's ever played, and yet the eye test tells me that he's nowhere near where this team needs him to be in order to be what they perceive themselves
But
to be or what they
here's
want
the
to be.
problem. Here's what I'm gonna say, Mike. And I'm not giving him like a pass here, but say we don't have Donovan Mitchell, the ball's gonna be in his hands more, right?
I agree. I
And
agree. I could not agree more with that statement.
so like there's only so much he can do. I really like what I've seen, and I don't know, are we transitioning to Cavs talk now? I guess we're transitioning to Cavs talk. I've really liked what
Sure.
I've seen with the Mobley and Allen like connection lately, like where they're throwing lobs to one another because teams are biting on it. And I don't really remember that wrinkle much last year. And maybe I just am misremembering it. Did they throw a lot of lobs to one another, or was it more just Garland throwing lobs to them? I feel like
Nah, they threw they to one another. I feel like they've incorporated it more. It feels like you're just seeing it maybe
well,
a little bit more
yeah.
often, but they definitely did it last year. They definitely did.
I Mobley last time I checked. Now, obviously, I don't know. Or last time I read, he was leading the league in dunks. I don't know if that's still the case.
Yeah, it wasn't even I don't think it was close. I mean, I think he had a pretty big he had like a double digit lead on whoever was second in the
Yeah,
league.
I'll see if I can dig that up. Listen, I've been more encouraged the last week with Mobley. And I know they lost to Portland, but that goes back to, and we kind of talked about it then. I believe was they the rotations were off, and that's on JB. Like that's on JB. Like he needs to get it. He needs to get it together, like and understand the proper rotations. And I don't know. I'm not trying to like.
I think you got to trade. I really do.
It's not. They're not going to do
As
it.
good as he is, as good as he is, I mean, I don't think they're going to do it in season, but I, I don't I don't know. When I watch this team, it just feels like you've got there's just too much redundancy, overlap, whatever word you want to use, between him and Garland. They're both guys that are better with the ball. I think Garland is a much better passer than Donovan Mitchell. Now Mitchell's a better scorer. There's no doubt about that. But Garland is certainly a very, very capable scorer, and his playmaking and passing are way better than Donovan Mitchell's. Now, I still feel like Garland's been turning the ball over this season way, way, way too much. But I love the point that you made a second ago about Mobley just getting opportunities and touches to be able to do stuff. And the team, the way it's constituted, it doesn't make sense to isolate Evan Mobley when you have two guys that are as good at that particular aspect of the game as Mitchell and Garland. And yet it just doesn't feel like, as we saw against New York in the playoffs last year, it just doesn't feel like this is a winning formula, at least not a winning big formula. It feels like you get in the playoffs and it's not that hard for teams to take away what the Cavs can do in terms of put two bigger, longer defenders on those two guards. You don't have to play Mobley and Allen outside of 12 feet, and everything's clogged up, and there's just nowhere to go. And it feels like offensively, I just don't know what your ceiling is
Yeah.
with these four guys as your core. And then defensively, look, they were number one in the league in defense. So obviously there's something here that works. And part of that is just Mobley and Allen being able to defend the interior. But I don't know that you can win a title when 2 6-1 guards have to play 42 minutes a night for you because of what they bring to you on the offensive end of the floor. And I don't know what Donovan Mitchell trades are out there. And the guy's been nothing but a competitor since he's been here. But the performance in the playoffs against the Knicks was alarming to me. And I just feel like if you
They're
put the
not
ball in
trading him
Garland's
this
hands,
season, Mike. I know you keep
I know
saying
they're
that.
not. But if you put the ball in Garland's hands full time and then you unlock a little bit of Mobley, I feel like in the long run, this team would be better off. I'm just not sure where we're going with this group of a core four. And there's somebody out there that would give you a big package for Donovan Mitchell. So it'll be interesting to see if
Gobert
they do anything or if he resigns.
dunks. Gobert's got 60 dunks. Mobley has 59, and Giannis has 58. And then no, like the next person's at like 40. The center
Okay.
from Mark Williams or something from Charlotte.
From Charlotte. That's the guy you said you never heard of, man, from Duke.
Still never heard of him.
Now you've heard of him twice. He's been mentioned on the podcast twice. So kudos to Mark Williams. Good work.
But
Yeah, I don't know
he's like
I don't know what to make of the Cavs. I really don't. And I hope that
and
if they can
and
keep these guys healthy and start to put it together and just it always
well,
feels like when
listen,
I'm
I
watching them
hope
that they're
they're
just not.
I hope they're healthy because the stretch is about to be rough. Here, let me read you their schedule. Their schedule's rough, Mike.
Okay.
Okay, you ready? Tomorrow,
Yep.
because of listen, we are gifted because of not making the tournament. We are gifted a game against the Orlando Magic tomorrow at home. Okay, then on Friday we play the Heat in Miami.
I'm not
Then we
afraid of the Heat.
play then we play the Magic in Orlando on Monday. Then on Tuesday we play in Boston against the Celtics. Then on Thursday next week we play in Boston again against the Celtics. Then then we play the Hawks at home, which I feel good about that game. Then we play the Rockets at home. Then we play the Jazz. So that 3 game stretch is okay. And then to wind up the month of December, we have New Orleans. We have the Bulls are bad. It's the end of the
Here's the
month that was
question: What
really.
do you think about Orlando? Where are you at with Where are you at with the Magic?
Um,
You
if I'm
buying?
gonna be, here's what I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna have more intel after tomorrow because I honestly don't know that I've watched any Orlando Magic basketball this year. I like I've caught bits and pieces or like seen highlights online, but I don't think I've sat and watched them. Have they been on like national TV at any point? Like
I don't
for
think
me
so. I
to
think they
watch
might have
them?
had an NBA TV game or two.
I don't have NBA TV anymore, so I'm out
There
on
you go.
that. So
You and I flip flop. So I think the thing with Orlando is that they just are super big and long, and of course they've been without my guy Markel Fultz, and they've been without Wendell Carter. It seems like from everything that you read, see here, that Jalen Suggs has turned a corner where I don't know if he's ever going to be a great shooter, but he's shooting like in the mid 30s from three. And defensively, he's a guy who's become like a defensive leader for them. And he's taken on multi positional guys of all different sizes. And then you just look at Franz and Paolo and how big those two guys are. And Jonathan Isaac in the 12 to 14 minutes that he plays, he's providing some all NBA level defense. And it's an interesting team. They're very young, and I don't expect them to stay at third in the Eastern Conference, certainly, but they're one of those teams like, look, if you'd have told me before this year or even maybe before last year, I would have had them and Detroit kind of roped into the same grouping in that these are two young
ability,
teams with some interesting pieces on the roster.
yeah,
And one team has gone in one direction and the other team has completely plummeted in the other direction. And you wonder what it is about each one of those places that has caused those two teams to go in opposite directions. I don't know if it's coaching, I don't know if it's culture, I don't know if it's individual players, I don't know what it is.
well,
But
not to mention
like I
that,
said,
not to mention Detroit backed up the Brinks truck for Monty Williams, and
yeah, which is crazy.
that
Crazy.
it's,
I don't know
it's
why
not
when you're
looking
a
good.
team, nah, when you're a team at that level, like why? I mean, I'm not saying Monty Williams is a bad coach, but if you're going to go out and spend whatever, I think they offered him what, like $12 million a year or something like that. And basically, he had told them at lower price points, he's like, hey, I'm going to sit out this year. I don't want to coach. And eventually, the price tag just got too big. And he's like, all right, I'll do it. But to me, and look, I don't know if Monty Williams is that guy or not that guy. But to me, the only types of teams that should be looking to pay a coach at that level, that kind of salary, are teams that are legitimate contending teams. Because otherwise, why not just go out and get a young assistant who can come in and develop your players and grow together with your team, as opposed to a guy who, as recently as what, 2, 3 years ago, Monty Williams is coaching in the NBA Finals. To me, to overpay for a guy like that when you're a rebuilding team, to me, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You look at like
Yeah,
Orlando, they have Jamal Mosley, who was an assistant at Dallas, who before he got hired for the Magic job, nobody, including you and I, had ever heard of him. So why not just go out on the cheap and hope that he develops along with a coach who, again, is Monty Williams, one of the best 5 or 10 coaches in the league? I don't know, maybe not, but certainly based on the job that it looks like he's doing in Detroit this year, I think you'd have to say no. I mean, they're
Yeah.
not even starting. The fact that Sir Thompson is not starting is insane. When you look at what
Well, isn't Jaden
his
Ivey
stat
not
line
been
is,
starting either? Isn't Jaden
yeah,
Ivey not been
right,
starting?
yeah, Jaden Ivey. I think he's back in the starting lineup now, but for a while he was not starting. And you're starting Killian Hayes, who look, Killian Hayes, I don't think is a bad player, but at this point, I think the book on Killian Hayes has been kind of written as far as what he is. Whereas Jaden Ivey, I have no idea what he is. I know when I watched him play against the Cavs, the previous game, Jaden Ivey did not look like a high basketball IQ player. So maybe there's that. Although, again, when you haven't been playing and then you get thrust into a situation, sometimes that's a difficult way to go and try to be evaluated. But it's just interesting to me that Orlando went one direction and Detroit went another. And a year ago, if you'd have told me, hey, these two teams are equal, which one do you think is going to be third in the Eastern Conference
Well,
next season after 20
I'm pretty
games?
sure you took the over. I'm pretty sure you took the over to Detroit, Mike.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I like Detroit's talent and everything that you read this summer with Cade with the select team, and people said he was the best player on that team, and that they felt like if you were just judging it based on that training camp, that Cade should probably be on the real World Cup team. And we haven't seen that at all this season. I mean, he's been okay, but he's been nowhere near
Yeah.
the level of, hey, this is a guy that he's our franchise guy. If he's your franchise guy playing the way he has through 20 games this season, then your franchise isn't going anywhere. Maybe he's your second best player, your third best player, but he hasn't shown anything this season, at least, to indicate that he's a guy that you're building around his talents. And obviously, that's kind of what Detroit is banked on.
Yeah. So going along with the head coaching thing, I did mean to bring this up. And where do you stand in the Ime Udoka versus LeBron nonsense? Like,
I don't know. I mean, like, to me, all of it is kind of childish. So I think obviously Udoka is complaining that LeBron is complaining. So he's complaining to LeBron that LeBron and the Lakers are complaining too much to the officials, which I get it. Like that's annoying when you're playing or coaching against or even watching a game where
yeah,
the
but
other
he's got players
team.
on his team doing the same exact thing.
I understand.
So
I completely understand. I think the one thing that it does tell you is that Ime Udoka is not going to take stuff from anybody. And part of that, I think, is what makes him apparently, because he's really only coached one season in Boston and now 20 games in Houston. But I think most people around the league feel like the guy's a good coach. And I think the quality that probably makes him a good coach is that he's not afraid of egos. He's not afraid to do what he feels is best for his team. He's not afraid of superstars and telling them, hey, you got to do X, Y, or Z, or you can't do X, Y, or Z. I know that was what happened in Boston in terms of him kind of getting Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum's attention during that year he was there. And clearly, Houston, despite the fact that they haven't won on the road, and I know they've added a couple veterans in Vleet and Dylan Brooks, but still, he's gotten their team to look like a much more cohesive basketball team than what they were before. So I think the consensus is that Ime Udoka is a good coach, and I think that the LeBron incident just points out sort of the why behind the reason that he is a good coach is he's just not afraid to stand up to people. And then on LeBron's side of it, why should LeBron have to take criticism from a coach on the sideline and going back at him? And to me, that's a case again where stuff like that, or stuff that, if you want to call that exchange between those two guys bad, there's a lot worse stuff that gets said in NBA games all the time. I am 100% certain of that. And so it's just a matter of the fact that that was mic'd and that Udoka got thrown out and LeBron got a T as a result of it. So I guess my overall feeling is I don't really care if two guys want to chirp at each other. And there were consequences for both of them. So it is what it is.
there you go. Okay. I find all follow the same line. I do find it funny, I think LeBron sometimes tries to be all high and mighty, and he needs to just not get involved. But listen, he's gonna do. He's not. He's been in the league so long. He's not gonna change his ways. Just like going back to the whole minutes thing and leading the team. He's not gonna change his way. Like
What? Come on.
he's
You're not saying he's not going to take a step back. Anthony Davis is going to be the leader of the team this year.
no.
How long has he
He's
been in
not,
LA now? How long has LeBron been in LA? 6 years. Is
6 years.
that right? 2018 was the last year he was in Cleveland. So this
Yeah.
season's going to end in 2024. So yeah, so this is probably his sixth season
19,
in LA.
20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Yeah, 6 seasons.
Can't wait for him to
Yeah.
take a step back. Maybe
Listen,
he will when Bronny gets to the
but here's
Lakers.
what I'm going to say. If he keeps doing what he's doing, I mean, hell, I mean, God bless him. I mean, I know Father Time. We've been talking since the iteration of this podcast. We've been talking about Father Time catching up to LeBron, right? I mean, but the fact of the matter is, he's still doing 27, 7, and 7, which is basically what he's averaged his career. Like, it's ridiculous.
Him and Father Time are in a marathon right now. And when we first started the podcast, the starter's gun had just gone off. And LeBron sprinted out in the first 10 miles, and Father Time was way behind. And LeBron is still out in front. He's chugging along at mile 20, and Father Time is back at like mile 12. He's slowly gaining on him, but man, it is a slow grind for Father Time to get LeBron. I said it a couple times recently on the podcast. Look, you're never ever going to convince me that LeBron is a better player than Michael Jordan. He's just not. But
He's going to have the best
what LeBron,
statistical career in his
yeah,
NBA history.
yeah. I mean, what LeBron is doing is absolutely, I mean, it is mind blowing when you think about at his age, playing at the level that he's playing and his production. There is no one who has come close to producing what LeBron is producing in his 21st season. Is that right? 22nd season? I don't even know where he's at, but it's insane what he's doing. It really is. It's crazy.
Yeah. All right. Anything else, Mike? Right now, just we're recording this guy, everyone, in the middle of the Lakers Phoenix game. There's 6 minutes left. It is a 2-point game. It is quite the game, and I think I kind of want to end the podcast so we can just watch the last 6 minutes. Mike, is there anything you want to say? I don't really want to talk about the Browns other than the fact that Flacco looked like the best quarterback that we've had all season. I understand that we lost the game, but he clearly looked the best out of any quarterback we've seen, it, even including Deshaun Watson. His throws, just watching his throws, like receivers were dropping them because they're not used to the ball hitting them in stride in the hands. He literally was on the couch 10 days ago. Like
Flacco has a good arm. He has a good arm. I still feel like in today's NFL, it's hard to have a guy back behind center that isn't a threat to run to some extent. I do agree. Joe Flacco throws a very nice ball, and it'll be interesting to see if DTR is healthy, what they end up doing. I mean, are they going to really go with Flacco for the rest of the season? I don't know. The bottom line is, it really doesn't matter. The Browns have lost to two teams in the last 2 weeks that this team at full health has no business losing to. And it's just a shame that the season has been derailed by all the injuries. And after these last 2 weeks, I have zero confidence that the schedule that I know I've been pointing out week after week after week that, come on, we got to be able to win these games. I no longer feel like any of these games are in any way, shape, or form a lockdown. The defense has not been very good. The defense was bad this week. And if the
just
defense
underlines
is bad,
the importance
of
Denzel Ward. And
yeah, I mean, I just don't care about. Yeah, I just don't care. I just don't care about the offense. Doesn't matter to me if the defense is only average or below average, which is what they were this week for sure. Then this offense has no chance if you're pairing it with a mediocre defense. This offense only has a chance if you're pairing it with an elite defense. And as of right now, I would say this defense hasn't been performing at an elite level the way that it needs to in order for this team to be able to win. Because offensively, we just don't have enough. So I have no idea where you go from there. So
Yeah. So what? Are they going to beat Jacksonville on Sunday?
No,
Does not play.
no,
If Trevor Lawrence does not play, they're not going to beat him.
no. Doesn't matter. I don't think so. I look. I'm back to being a Browns fan. I have no confidence in
Okay.
this team.
I,
I had some
I'm
confidence for a
Mark.
while. I'm back to being a
I'm
Browns fan.
stamp approval. The Bengals just beat them in Jacksonville. I'm putting it down. We're winning this game
Okay,
on Sunday.
that's
Mike.
fine.
At home.
That's fine.
You got to
That's
remember
fine.
we're at home. We're home. They're
Yeah,
winning
that's
this game.
fine. I mean, we'll see. This team. I'm back to being a Browns fan. My confidence level it was, I would say, relatively high, especially in light of the history of the Browns. But at this point, I don't want to say I'm out, but I don't feel like I can count on anything to be. There's nothing that I feel I can count on to happen for sure. I don't think the
Yeah.
defense is the sure thing that maybe it once was. So we'll see what happens.
Okay. Alrighty. Let's leave it there, Mike.
Sounds good. Well, I'm looking forward to the rest of this in-season tournament. I'm really curious to see what the atmosphere looks like in Vegas. As you said, I'm interested to see what the court looks like. I'm interested to see what the crowds are like when we're there. And it's going to be, I think, a lot of fun. And you and I weren't convinced that it was going to work. I would say 100% it's worked. And the second half of that Miami Boston game, or I'm sorry, that Indiana Boston game was maybe the most fired up regular season game that I've seen in a long maybe since going back to like the Cavs Warriors 2016 Christmas game where you had two teams that just were going at each other and the crowd was into it. And I don't know, that was a really, really fun
Is that the year it was in
game the other
Cleveland,
night.
or was that the year? Was that the year
Yes,
it
it
was
was
in
in
Cleveland?
Cleveland. Yeah, it was.
Okay,
That
because
was in
I
Cleveland.
was
Yeah,
at that. I was at that one. I couldn't remember if that was
was
the
a
year
great
it
one.
was in Cleveland.
That was
Yeah,
the one
yeah,
Kyrie hit the game winner.
yeah,
Kyrie hit the game
yeah.
winning, the little game winning jumper. But that's the best regular season game that I can remember. And then this game between Indiana and Boston, just in terms of the crowd, the Indy crowd was crazy, and it was just a fun game. Now these next two games haven't been quite as tight. So, and this one looks like it's
What?
coming down to the wire between
Yeah.
Phoenix and the
Yeah.
Lakers. So,
Okay,
should
yeah.
be fun.
LeBron is the first Lakers player with 20 points, 10 assists, and 5 steals in a game since Kobe Bryant in 2004.
Go.
LeBron also became the oldest player to have 5 steals in a game since the stat became official in 73-74.
To have what?
5 steals in a game.
That can't be right.
Who's older than
5
him?
steals in a game. Oh, he's became the oldest
Older
player
than
to have
him.
5 steals in the game. Okay.
Yeah,
I thought you said he
yeah.
became the first player to have 5 steals in a game. I was like,
No,
oh,
you
that
had
can't be
how
right.
many did you
Okay,
have and a
that makes
half,
sense.
Mike? Come on. That's not
No, I had. Do we have to rehash this in a game?
No,
I had 8 in a game. Although that record doesn't stand. But my quote after the game was, "They just kept passing me the ball." So I'm sure people who listen to the pod.
that I thought
You're a
no, the
loyal
steals
listener, you
records
heard me
does
say that
stand.
multiple times.
The steals records, the steal freeze record that doesn't stand, right?
No, the steals record got broken too.
Oh no,
I'm
when did
out,
that
man.
happen?
I think last season. I
It
think
wasn't
Malik
sincere
Jacobs
again,
got
was
that
it?
one. No,
Oh.
I think it was Malik Jacobs got that one. I
Oh
think he got
man.
9. So yeah, that record's
Oh
gone. So
crap.
I have no more records that can. And then to add insult to injury, so they have in the media guide, they have the 1,000-point scorers,
Yeah.
and I'm a 1,000-point scorer. I have 1,006, and my name has been omitted from the bottom of the 1,000-point scorer list. So I actually wrote to the person who's the SID in charge of basketball at Kent, and they never responded. So I got to figure out who I got to reach out to get my name back on that list. So, as I've said numerous times, that's probably, if there's anything in my career from an individual standpoint that I'm most proud of, that's probably the one thing I always go back to.
Not the
I know
Brunswick game winner.
This is
Not the Brunswick game winner.
no, not that. No, the 1,000 points is definitely, I think, the thing. And I've said this before, but I had a coach when I was being recruited that he was a coach at Oglethorpe University, which is in Atlanta. It was an NAIA school. And they were trying to get me to go to there. I went down and visited. And at some point during the visit, the coach told me, he goes, "You don't want to go and play Division I basketball, you don't want to go to Kent because they're gonna bring you in, and then the next year they're just gonna recruit over you. And if you come here, you'll be able to score 1,000 points. You'll be able to, get on the floor and play all the time. And so that drove me. And it went down to my very last game, and I think I needed 11. I think I needed 11 points, and that was in a MAC tournament game. So I didn't know if it was going to be our last game or not our last game, but potentially could have been the last game of my career. I needed 11 points, and I ended up getting 17. So the fact that I ended up with 1,006, and now I'm not even in the media guide, I got to get that corrected so that again my 1,000
You
points.
still have the
at
free
least
throw
live in
percentage at
perpetuity.
Stromsville High School, right? You still have the free throw
Yeah, that's going to
percentage.
stand for a long time. I mean, that's like 89. I don't know. It's like 89.7% or something. I don't think anyone has sniffed that in whatever that record is now. How old am I? 53. So
What was your
that
percentage
record
for
has
your?
stood
Do you
for.
have the career one too? Do you have the career one too, or no?
I don't think they have a career. At least it's not listed on the. I'm sure my career was right around that same number in high school. So somewhere in the. I'm sure it
Yeah.
was in the high 80s. I mean,
All right.
I know
Sorry, I
what
don't
I
mean to
shot as a
relive the
junior. So
glory days here, Mike.
yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
exactly, exactly. He got to hear my rant. All right. Anyway, thanks everybody for listening tonight. Really appreciate it. There is now 3 minutes and 31 seconds left in this Lakers Suns game. Lakers are up by 1. So you will, I guess, by the time you listen to this, you'll already know the result. But we're looking forward to Thursday's semifinals out in Las Vegas,
And
then
Mike, I know
the final.
we're not gonna commit, Mike. We're not gonna commit, but we might try to do an episode on Thursday night if everyone goes to bed, right?
Yeah,
If
we'll
everyone
see.
goes to bed on your end.
We'll see how it
I
goes.
mean,
We might be
I
able to
only
do it.
have
We might be
PD
able
on
to.
Friday, so if I have to stay up late to do it, I'll do it.
All right. Well, we might be able to bang out a quick one, but all I know is it's already 12:30, and I'm going to watch the end of this game before I even start working on this episode. So
So let's
we'll
end
see
this.
what time I get to bed. Yeah, we'll see what time I get to bed tonight. All right.
All right.
Thanks again. Let's try this one more time. Thanks for listening, and we will catch you on our next episode. Thanks.